Welcome to Satsunami, a Scottish variety podcast that discusses topics from gaming and films to anime and general interest. Join me, your host, Satsunami, as well as the rest of our Satsunami team for our takes on these very important pop culture topics.
Sir, it's clearly a trap. I accept your fate!
That happens 3 times in the film. Like, every time that general goes, don't do this one thing, he goes, do you know what I'm gonna do? That's exact.
It does as well. She had the pointy teeth. What was that about?
She looked like Bilbo when he wants the ring back.
She did, didn't she? I just want the lightsaber one more time.
Parasite says, no, you will get back into your office and work.
No, says the man in Zoom. Yeah. Trousers are for the working man.
You're bursting into your hotel room. Honey, we need to go.
Leave the kids. You can milk an oddish. Oh!
That's the worst thing you've ever said in any of the episodes.
If that sounds like your cup of tea, then you can check us out at our website, chatsunami.com, as well as all good podcast apps. As always, stay safe, stay awesome, and most importantly, stay hydrated.
Stay classy and have a banana. This has been Satsunami.
I'm sorry.
It was just another night tossing voice in a dingy dive bar.
What's the problem, Miss Lake?
My mother, but she was murdered.
How do you know?
Because someone phoned me saying he murdered her and he would murder me as well.
It's not easy being a detective with a wooden partner. The job was to solve a murder.
I don't know how it's all connected.
Wonderful material for a crime novel where everyone is a suspect. We're in a dead cell.
I'm just sick and tired of being your prop. You're finally thinking with the right head.
Somebody stop them before they kill us all.
I think you're onto something.
Well, another trouble I have is that Mr. Trillo is very annoying.
Between me and you, this guy is annoying too.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Satsunami. My name's Satsunami and joining me today is none other than the creative minds behind the film, The Dummy Detective. We have Jonathan Geffner, Deborah Twiss, and last but certainly not least, we have Ed Altman. I just want to say a huge welcome to Satsunami, everybody. How are you all doing?
Great.
Thank you. Great to join you.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you.
No, it's honestly a pleasure. And I have to admit, usually with the podcast, because I've been doing it for nearly 6 years now, and I've had a couple of people reach out and say, oh, do you want to collaborate? Do you want to do this and that? But I have to say, I never thought I'd be getting an opportunity like this, because I saw that Jonathan, of course, yourself, you had reached out to say that this film was out, and I went away. I think as soon as you said, let's talk about this on Satsunami, I immediately went to see where I could watch it. Am I right in saying it's honestly everywhere, because it's on Amazon Prime, it's on Tubi? Yeah, it's everywhere, isn't it?
Well, it is on a number of channels, and hopefully a couple more soon also. Still in the process of getting it out there through Film Hub, my distributor. But it's already on a few, as you mentioned, Amazon Prime and Tubi, and also Plex. That's a particularly good one, although not very well known, it seems, but it's in 130 countries. So in that respect, it's good for access to this movie in almost any country the listeners out there happen to be in. They could probably watch it, and for free, by the way, on Plex. And also it has subtitles available in 5 different languages, so a lot of options to watch it there.
No, it's absolutely fantastic that it is so available, because the amount of films, I have to say, that I've seen in the past where one of my friends or co-hosts have said, oh yeah, let's review this, and you'll look it up and it's absolutely nowhere. But I mean, for this film, it is honestly just so fantastic to, well, see it pop up, of course. And the film itself, The Dummy Detective, is of course, is it right in saying this kind of noir thriller whodunit kind of thing? Because of course, Jonathan, you play the ventriloquist detective Van Trillo, and of course you're joined by, as we've got here today, Deborah, you play Chloe Lake, and Ed, you play Elliot Black. So Jonathan, sorry, starting with you, how did it feel to work on something like this?
Well, this was a very long-term project, so it was a combination of feelings, primarily I think of of relief of being finally able to make this dream come true, this vision. I had written my first version of this script, of the screenplay, over 20 years ago, and I tried various means to get it produced, and it seemed like I had a deal of one sort or another all set through investors or producers of various sorts in various countries many times, and these deals always fell through. So it was a kind of a Twilight Zone experience for me, where I came to feel that there's no way I'm ever going to shoot this movie. But somehow things came together, an opportunity arose to be able to shoot this at a much lower budget than I had ever anticipated or figured on doing. So that enticed me to just roll the dice and go for it and do it. So it was pretty exciting, and also it was a relief to just finally have it here done.
Oh no, I can honestly imagine it must have been a relief seeing it produced and then out there. So Deborah, going on to you, see when you were approached to take part in this film, what drew you into this?
Well, I love the idea of a noir. I've always wanted to be in a noir film for sure. And the character was really well written. I mean, the script was fantastically written. Jonathan did a great job on it. And you can really tell that he put a lot of attention and effort into it, because we've talked about this before, but when a script is very, very well written, it's super easy to memorize. It's very logical and it flows. And even though like a lot of it was really funny little jokes and things like that, it flowed so beautifully and it felt so good. So I was really excited to actually get cast in it, but then actually doing it was even more fun than what I had imagined it would be. So it's completely went way beyond my expectations. And that's always an amazing thing to have happen. It looks really good. All the other actors were wonderful and fun, and it's a great project. I'm very, very, very proud of it.
And flipping it onto you, Ed, as well, what was the thing that attracted you to this project?
Well, the thing that actually really looped me in was, reading the script before I actually auditioned. I felt like I could sort of see what the character would look like on screen, and I found that really appealing because my character is very dark. He's very abject. He's been through a trauma, so he's socially withdrawn, and he lives in his own little world. And you could see that, so that auditioning for it, you kind of had the view of what it was ultimately going to look like, and I just found it very cozy. Also, I really liked Jonathan. Rob, who was the director, I liked a lot, and I liked the way they handled the auditions. I mean, Deb and I, maybe you heard us, we were just sort of talking about the vicissitudes and the trials and tribulations of the business, but when you audition for someone who you really feel like knows what they're doing and are very committed and are really interested in making you look as good as you can during the audition, that's really appealing. I mean, those are all the things that just really grabbed me.
I can imagine it would be really interesting to work on something like this, because even whoever did your poster, it is just immediately eye-catching when you look at it, and then you want to know more really about it, because it's something that, and I mean this in all the best ways, Jonathan, apologies, but you know the way when you see a film that has a puppet in it that is their own character, and then you almost forget because the actor themselves are so good at embodying that role that you forget that they're a puppet, and then you look at them as if they are just like another actor. And I know you draw attention to that throughout the film, where I think it's you, Deborah, you say at one point like, oh, you've got me talking to your puppet and things like that. Yeah, I have to admit, even I was looking at the puppet thinking, I had to pull myself back and go, oh yeah, that's a puppet. Because, I mean, am I right in saying, Jonathan, that you have been doing ventriloquism for quite a while now?
Yes. Well, most of my adult life. I didn't do it as a child. I was a young man when I started out and been doing it all through these years to now as my old man status. So it's been, it started, it was 40 years ago. And through these years, it's been my main occupation.
See, before you made this film, am I right in saying that you had a web series based on Trillo and Suede?
Yes, that was a few years ago, about 5 and 6 years ago, that I did 2 seasons of this, 10 short episodes each. So a total of 20 episodes in the Trillo and Suede canon now of web series. If anyone's keeping track, probably nobody. But yeah, I've done 20 episodes, and that was sort of the start of the produced works of Trillo and Suede on screen. Because I've done hundreds, countless, probably over 1,000 little videos on social media with these characters, but those were just zero budget little things for my my home that I continue to do from time to time. And well, now I do it more to promote the movie. But I was doing that and attracting somewhat of a following through the years by doing just fun little videos like that. But then this was the first major effort to do something on a grander scale. Well, okay, I should elaborate more by saying it wasn't really the first produced Trillo and Suede work. It was the first one that I think of because it's more in the lines of exactly what my goals were on screen. But I did a short film called Oxford Park in 2005. So that was earlier. And that short film I actually shot in England. I shot it in a little town. Actually, it's outside of Farnham. I don't know if you're familiar with Farnham because I take it you're in Scotland. Is that where you're located?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Farnham, England is like a distant suburb of London. And then there was a tiny, like a hamlet, and I forgot the name of it, where we actually shot it. But it was a 2-day shoot. Just a little film, 15-minute film, Oxford Park. So that was the first actual produced one, even before the web series.
I have to say, when I went back to look at, especially for the web series for Trillo and Suede, I could definitely see the characterization and everything for Suede. I know that sounds a bit, I don't want to say silly, but to say the characterization of your ventriloquist dummy.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was really interesting. And what I also really found quite interesting, and it's something you brought up, Ed, so I'll definitely start with you this time, but the film itself has a lot of, it's like a mixture of themes between the kind of silly and humorous versus that very much serious and quite serious, gritty noir feel to it, and especially with your character, Ed, with Elliot Black. Yeah, how did it feel to embody a character like that?
It was a lot of fun, and it was interesting because there was a real dichotomy between, the ventriloquist aspect of being someone who, manages these puppets and then having your puppet sort of take you over or think that the puppet is taking you over. So in his case, it was very much that he was so associated with the dummy that when the dummy turned on him, or so we're led to believe, he couldn't handle it. I mean, it was like, part of yourself rebelling against yourself. It was like almost like an autoimmune disease, attacking you from within. So I think for him, that just completely flipped things around. And one of the things I really like about the script, which is the challenge, Elliot Black gives to Trillo about, well, what are you going to do about this? Because you know exactly what I'm talking about. Your dummies may not have done this to you yet, but they might, and they will. And what are you going to do about it? You don't have an answer to that. I thought there was like a real heartfelt pain, and yet at the same time, it was actually kind of funny. And to me, that was the best draw into a film, is being able to combine both the serious and the humor and have it all come off if you can do it.
There's actually one scene, I think I took a moment where I was like, that is just a great piece of cinematography, where I think it's where your, spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen it, this is your last chance to go watch it, but the scene where your character gets and your dummy in the corner is crying. It's such a great visual shot. I honestly I was just sitting there being like, that is brilliant the way that's been framed. And then later there's that moment where you see it's just a leaky pipe above him. But again, it's that idea of it being quite ambiguous of, is this person actually getting taken over, or is it just their mental state, going through this and everything? It was honestly such a great shot. Of course, flipping on to you, Deborah, you of course play is it right in calling Chloe a femme fatale in this?
Yeah. I mean, because she uses her feminine ways to try to manipulate poor Trillo. Yeah.
Yeah. How did you feel about playing that character?
Oh, I love it. Are you kidding me? It's so funny too, because like in my real life, I'm just like a girl with a bunch of chihuahuas and 2 kids, and literally I'm Debbie and the dogs. That's who I am. But as far as the kind of roles I play, I usually play like the femme fatale, the sexy one, the dirty teacher, all those kind of things, which it's the funniest thing in the world, because I'm so not that slutty chick at all in my world. So it's fun for me to be able to do that on screen, because, I would never be that way in real life.
I remember, can I just jump in here? When we did a Zoom reading before we started filming, and we're like going over the script and everything. And at one point, I mean, because Chloe has all these interactions with the dummies, and she was saying, well, wouldn't it be funny at one point, like I try and seduce the dummy and we'll see what happens. And I just thought that was so funny.
I still think that would have been funny.
Yeah.
And even say something like, well, let me see just how wood you are.
Perfect.
We'll do that in the sequel, Deb.
Okay, good. Yeah, you take that line, okay? Put that in there.
Beneath the dummy detective.
So, Jonathan, putting it to you, the main character in the film is, of course, played by you, Van Trillo. Out of curiosity, was there any inspiration behind that character, or was it just a kind of amalgamation of different detective figures of that genre?
Yeah, it's more of an amalgamation because I've seen many film noirs I had seen long ago, and I love film noir. It's my favorite genre, if I had to choose altogether. I was always very drawn to that. So Humphrey Bogart comes to mind, first of all, because of the Maltese Falcon, which is often considered the first film noir, groundbreaking film. It's sort of creating that genre back in 1941. So, that's a movie I've seen many times. And if I had to choose one, I'd say that was the biggest part of my inspiration. But I've seen many other film noirs and variations of that detective character. So they all kind of had some influence.
See, when you went into this film, and obviously, as I said, there is that kind of line between the silly and the seriousness. Were you ever worried at any point, Jonathan, that anything would come across as either too serious or too silly when you were playing off against all of the other actors?
Well, yeah, the first time that came into play was when I was writing. Every particular script I've written, it's always something that I thought about, the balance between the humor and drama, because I never wanted it to be completely one or the other. I wanted it to be a good mix. So, that's often a difficult thing to weigh, and I would wonder about it. I'd never know for sure until it's actually shot and then edited to be able to look at it and say, okay, well, did I succeed or not? Was it too much humor or too little humor? But I always strive for a kind of nice balance between the two. Oh, and as far as, on set, how to play the character, that's a kind of slightly different issue, or it was for me, because I set about playing my character very, very seriously. And in general, though, I wanted everybody understood, the actors, that I wanted them to take the role seriously, to play it seriously, and let the humor come out of that in the places where there's a natural kind of absurdist humor that just evolves from the dialogue and the situation. So I knew that some things are going to be funny, but I didn't want people to try to be funny, that kind of thing. But everybody understood that and played it great. I mean, I'm thrilled with Ed and Deb in particular for the way they played the roles to perfection in my mind. But for me, as Trillo, I'm basically the straight man in the cast. I take things very serious. That's part of Trillo's character, is that he's intensely serious in his whole attitude toward life and worried. So, I kind of just played it straight, without even trying to be. I mean, I think there's some funny things that Trillo says or does too, but that also comes out of playing it straight. It's similar to what I'm describing for all the actors. I'm just saying even more so for Trillo, that playing it straight was what I felt the way to go.
No, because you can definitely see it in the writing, and especially with the cast as a whole. I mean, especially with Sean Young's character, is it Harriet Hubbard?
Yes.
I mean, that was honestly such a delight to watch when, Deborah, your character comes in and, it's this very unsettling, although again, it's as you said, Jonathan, it's that they are just doing their own thing, but at the same time, they're letting the humour come through. Flipping it back onto both you, Ed and Deborah, did you both feel that way as well when you were acting, that it came quite naturally to let the comedic parts come out versus the serious parts?
I think it was almost like a world. It was a world that was built for the film. And so the comedy was not necessarily, it was just the extreme noir of the concept. And I think it's difficult to play comedy for comedy, especially with something like this. The best way to play comedy is to play it very straight and take it very seriously. Well, that's what I felt like we were doing, especially you and I, Ed, and Jonathan too.
Yeah, because I feel like we had the confidence that we knew the audience was going to fill in the funny bits. You did not need to emphasize it at all, because just the situation itself would indicate it clear as a bell.
Yeah, exactly.
Except in my character, there were some slapstick things that were put in there. For instance, I'm always falling down the stairs and things like that, and and screaming at the top of my lungs. I mean, that was sort of playing funny to be funny, and it worked. But that, if you were playing it too straight, you would have broken your neck.
This is true.
And did you do your own stunts, Ed?
Oh, absolutely, yes. No, well, actually, Rob, the director, was very good. He's always good at giving you little bits and things. And when I knew in the script there was this place where I'm supposed to fall down, and he was very seriously came to me and said, if you want to, feel free, you can do the fall yourself. And I said, well, no, I'm not going to do that. But they staged it very well. So there were things at the bottom, for instance, the last fall, they had a mattress on the floor, and I really had to hurl myself forward. And I got a little bump, a little bruised up doing that, but that was really the worst of it. The rest of it, they just put pieces together, and it looked very convincing.
As I was saying before, with the very unfortunate scene, apologies for bringing that up, the death of your character, but the whole cinematography throughout the film was done so well, and I genuinely thought the use of effects and things, because it was all practical effects, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, the cinematography was wonderful. Yuri Bathian is the cinematographer, and he did a wonderful job. Also, Michael Fisher was the gaffer lighting guy, and he was also wonderful. Two of them worked together great because they have to be on the same team working closely together for everything to turn out looking as best as possible. And I'm very happy with the job they did. They both took it very seriously, and especially Yuri, in preparation for shooting in pre-production, he had a few conversations with me about what I wanted the film to look like to try to capture that look. I mean, he knew it. I wanted a neo-noir look, even though it was in color. I mean, and noir is in black and white, traditional noir. So this is neo-noir. It is in color, but I wanted to have the feel of noir, even in color. And he sent me various samples, and I sent him samples of bits of other movies that I thought were similar to my concept. And he just spent a lot of time in using his expertise to get the look just right, in my opinion.
And am I right in saying that this film took, was it 11 days to film?
Yes, 11-day shoot in total.
Wow. How was that process? Did you feel as if it was quite breakneck, or was it quite well paced out?
Well, we were really under the gun, so it was a very fast pace. Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, I would have loved to have a few more days. But as I've discussed with Ann and Deb previously too, that I think we all agree that we wouldn't necessarily need or feel that we need a much larger, like a much longer shoot, because that wouldn't be necessary. I would have loved to have a few more days. That would have taken a lot of pressure off what I was feeling, the stress of having to shoot so quickly. But it was long enough because it was very well planned. And also because Rob Margulies, the director, is very good, very skilled, very experienced with shooting fast and cheap to keep my budget down, which is what I alluded to earlier, which is why I was able to actually do it. The budget turned out to be considerably less than I thought it would have to be. So, that's what made it possible without sacrificing quality, with keeping the quality looking good, looking like it cost a lot more to shoot than it actually did. We were able to shoot it at that breakneck speed.
Plus, they also had a secret weapon in the location. We were filming at a bed and breakfast in New Jersey that was very atmospheric, and the crew could actually stay there. So we actually were able to save a lot of time, just people not having to travel back and forth to the location. But the house itself is this 19th century house, and it just lent itself to, all kinds of room setups and, looked bigger or smaller as it needed to be. So it was a great place to work.
Yeah, we did luck out on the location. I think that it worked perfectly. It was just the look that we needed for this little universe.
You're definitely right. It was on point for that setting. But out of curiosity, and I'm going to go back to you, Deborah, on this, because as I said before, there are a lot of twists and turns in this. When you were reading the script initially, did you expect the twist for your character? What were your thoughts on that?
I loved it. I knew something was up with her from the beginning when I was reading the script. And I was really excited that, there was such a great twist, because that's something that I had in my head from the very beginning scenes then. It's cool. It's very cool. I loved it. I really did. It's a noir, so you want those kind of twists. Otherwise, it doesn't work as a kind of thriller element,
No, absolutely. And what about you, Ed? See, when you were reading through the script, was there a bit of you that wondered if you were going to be initially, or?
Yeah, I mean, because the elements were there. I mean, there's some backstory and, relationships that are described kind of vaguely. And in the end, you think, yeah, well, and plus he seems so remote and such a little nebbish guy that, it could very well be him. But I won't spoil any further.
So, Jonathan, see, when you were watching the rest of the cast, including, of course, Deborah and Ed, read this, were you quite excited to see what their reaction would be?
Well, there's the audition process. We had initial through casting calls. We got hundreds of applicants for each role, and then we narrowed it down for callbacks to a small number of people. So that's where there were live callbacks in Manhattan, New York, and I ran the callbacks with my daughter Sabrina, who's a young, brilliant filmmaker. Mark her name, because I think you'll be hearing a lot about her in the next few years. So Sabrina and I ran the callback. Rob, the director, was in LA and couldn't make it out there for those callbacks live. So, I ran it with Sabrina. And yeah, especially watching the callbacks, because those are the people we thought were best of all the applicants who sent in their audition tapes. And so, seeing them bring life in the callbacks to the characters was very exciting. And then, the process of choosing the best one. Actually, it wasn't a difficult process because Ed and Deb both were clearly the best for the roles. It wasn't very hard to choose them.
Thank you.
Thank you. And you gave very good direction too, because I remember the callbacks. You said, okay, now try it this way. Okay, now at this point, try it that way, which I liked because it felt like you really had a very clear idea of what you were trying to get at. So that made it a bit easier for us.
Out of curiosity, starting with Ed, was there any particular scene in this film you absolutely loved doing?
Yeah, my favorite it's the scene with Trillo, where we were talking about this before, where I'm confronting him about, you're afraid of the same thing that happened to me is happening to you. What are you going to do about it? And then he goes through this whole thing about different perils or the different pitfalls that may happen to him if he succumbs to it. Basically, descending into the pits because he's been so humiliated. I just always liked that whole speech. I know it was a lot of fun to do.
What about you, Deborah?
I loved everything about this film. I think there were so many different elements that just made it so fantastic. And being able to dive into even just the outfits. The crazy outfits that I had. We had this great wardrobe designer, a friend of mine, Montgomery Fraser. And, he really went all in and he did a great job considering there wasn't that much of a budget, but he was ordering things from Amazon and he knows a lot of designers. So I had this crazy, amazing coat that I wear in the film. And I got to wear this, it's like a $5,000 coat from a designer, but, he was able to get it for us to use for the film. So, there were so many different elements that made it feel like it was a much bigger budget film. Even though it was only 11 days, we didn't get a chance to do a whole lot of takes because we were on such a tight budget as far as time goes. Our director, Rob, was very much trying to make sure that we stayed at 12 hours as much as possible so that there wouldn't be overtime or anything like that. So, there was a lot of focus and intensity, and we just had the best time. We just had such a good time. It's literally one of my favorite films I've ever worked on. I love the way it turned out. I loved my cast. I loved everything about it. I loved being on that set. It gave me such an opportunity to really dive into a kind of character that I've wanted to play. While I may play a femme fatale and things like that, it's never in a legit noir. And that's what this ended up being. This was almost like a graphic novel kind of thing come to life. And that especially was really cool. There's a couple shots in the film that are so graphic novel. They feel so anime or something. There's so much to it that just makes it really, really wonderful. And then the different plot twists with my character. That's the kind of stuff that actors just want to sink their teeth into and have fun with. And I got to do that. And it felt great. It was just so wonderful. And there's another element to this, and I've said it in a couple interviews, but I do want to impress this upon Jonathan one more time because it's very critical. It was literally only 8 months prior to that my husband had died. And so I was coming out of this awful fog. And literally when I got this was exactly, I needed to have something that I focused on so much so that I would be able to hide from my grief, honestly, and pivot into the life that I need to create now. I need to work all the time now. There was no life insurance policy or anything. So whatever I make as an actress is what I make. So, between having to work, but then also having to work on something wonderful, literally, it saved me in so many different ways. It was more than working on a film. It was part of the pivotal part of me being able to turn to the life that I'm meant to live now as a single mom. Everything about this film is just fantastic. I could not possibly tell you the different levels that it influenced my life, truly.
No, thank you for sharing that. And out of curiosity, because I was looking at your past work as well, and I've seen you've done a couple of directing roles as well. I was just wondering, do you feel as if you prefer one or the other?
Oh no, I make movies because there are scripts that I've written that I'm just in love with and I really want to make these films, and I pour everything in when I do it, and it's really intense. But then when I get to go and be on somebody else's set as just an actress, I'm like, I am glad I'm not directing. I enjoy my time off as just being an actress and being able to really focus my art and my brain and my heart completely on something. It's fantastic. I love both. I love doing everything, but I enjoy working for other people. I love the team. I love the team and the connection element of what we do. It's the reason I believe many of us want to be artists, so that we can have that ability to connect in so many different scenarios with so many different people. It's wonderful. All of it's wonderful. I wish I could be more kinds kinds of artists. I wish I could be a painter. I have a purple cello in my closet that I got during the pandemic. I wish I could play that. I mean, I wish I had a better singing voice so I could do lounge singing, all kinds of things. I'm a weirdo.
No, the world does need more artists, to be fair, because, I mean, you probably don't need me telling all of you this about the whole rise of the whole AI movement and things like that. Do any of you worry about that your art's going to get impacted with this wave of people who I'm against as well, but do you ever worry that it's going to impact the art that you create?
Or it's going to take it over. I mean, I've done, voiceover work and, I got called in for auditions to actually, use my voice to train AI, which I'd sort of turn those down if I was offered to them, but I see it happening all the time. But on the other hand, I also think people are aware of AI, and maybe that's only because the state it's in now. But you see an AI generated film, because they're all over Facebook and TikTok and Instagram and all, you can tell. And there's something very artificial, very stilted, very unreal, and I think kind of too sweet and unappealing about it. And I kind of think that's going to be AI's downfall, if there is a downfall, and that there is a lot of hope for, the people who are actually doing the work and doing it live or filming themselves live. So I don't feel completely pessimistic, but I'm just hoping that people stay as sophisticated and as discriminating as they've been so far.
Yeah, I agree. I think when it comes down to the actual artistry, whether it's writing, music, acting, directing, like all these different things, the artists will always be necessary because we are human. And there's a limitation to the creativity that AI is capable of. I think AI is a fabulous tool for things like post-production. There's all kinds of wonderful tools for helping. For example, the first song in a movie that I did most recently, Crave, the opening song, I wrote the lyrics and then I kept putting it through AI. It was like, okay, make it more like Massive Attack, make it like more Chiba, give it a little bit of Portishead. And then I gave it to my composer and I said, well, this is what I want. These are the lyrics. This is the tune. Now you do it. And then he took it to another level. But it was already like, instead of it taking him 3 weeks, it took him a couple of days because he saw what I wanted and he then used his spin of artistry. And the same thing goes with like color correction on a film. I just saw this new thing that came out, a plugin for Adobe Premiere or part of Premiere, where normally it would take 30 days to color correct a film. You can make a couple key decisions and then have the whole film color corrected within 10 minutes. The entire thing, every clip, so that one to the next, they all match, everything works. That's amazing. And that's really exciting. But you still have to be able to have the artistry enough initially to make those color correction decisions. So for all art, I believe, needs a human element to it. And it may allow us to make more art, but I don't think it will replace us in creating art.
Well, I think it's pretty ominous. I think that there are these amazing potential benefits, or not even potential, but already we're seeing benefits that Deb was just describing. So that cannot be denied. And that is something that's very eye-opening, amazing. But I'm very concerned long-term because, well, maybe I just have a bit more pessimistic nature than my friends here, because about human nature, what I'm afraid of is that the public will be not as discerning as we hope they will be, or that enough of the public, too much of the public, will just not be discerning enough once AI hones itself to get even more authentic looking, because right now it can't come close to replicating real human expressions and emotions. I mean, close in an artistic sense. In a superficial sense, yeah, they're coming very close already. But artistically, I can't see it creating itself to replace a real artistic work of art. However, it'll get better. They'll keep getting honed to get better. And I am afraid that it will be able to so cheaply be able to make entire movies with entire AI people who don't exist and so forth, and with the music and the cinematography and everything, all these elements will get close enough that a public who's not very discerning will just accept it and buy it. And it's going to put a lot of true people, real artists out of business. That's what I'm afraid of, but let's hope I'm wrong.
No, I totally see what you all mean though, because I do think that on the one hand, there is definitely that role that it could fill in, whether that's background work or the technical side of it, which is fantastic that's cutting down the time for that. But I mean, I remember talking to one of my friends and another co-host, Marie, who we basically talked about AI for probably about 3 or 4 hours on the raw audio, so we had a lot to say on it. But again, it's something that you said there, Jonathan, that there seems to be a lot of people nowadays that they're quite apathetic to the rise of it. Because I remember years and years ago, one of my friends and co-host of this podcast, Martin, him and I watched a film on Amazon, I think it it was called Space Trucker Bruce or something. And it was this indie project where it was about a guy who, as the title suggests, it was a guy in space and everything. And the whole thing was practical effects. It was probably filmed either in a warehouse or parts of it in this guy's home. But at the same time, it felt quite endearing. You know, it was like someone who had put the time in, had put the artistry in to say, this is my vision. You know, whether or not it's going to look good on screen, they still went ahead and did it. But granted, that was long ago, before about 10-ish years ago. I don't think AI would ever be able to replicate the dummy detective.
Yeah.
I think you honestly all do a fantastic job, and there's no way AI is going to supersede you guys by far.
And actually, just think what Jonathan just said too. I mean, the thing that I think is, like, for instance, even now, throwing them out as an example, I'm not trying to be biased, like Netflix, for instance, you know, went through periods where they created all their own material, which was pretty much interchangeable. I think most people would think was probably just okay, if not even crap. I mean, AI could actually reproduce that stuff and people wouldn't know the difference. And I think the real danger, kind of what Jonathan was saying, is that for those people who are willing to watch that sort of thing, that may be a real disintermediator for actors and writers and all. But for the people who really do tell the difference or are looking for higher quality stuff, I just don't see how AI can replicate that.
Because, I mean, it's even when you look at other mediums, like especially podcasting, if they get a hold of my voice, then I'm out of job.
No, because it won't work. It sounds bad. They mispronounce words, and they're trying to train AI to, you know, make the words pronounced properly. But I know for myself, I'll listen to something, like I listen to YouTube videos, and then they try to do Mel Robbins, and then all it takes is one word that's mispronounced that I know it's AI, and I lose interest completely. I can't keep listening. So, you know, we are humans, so we are finally attuned, I believe, to what is human. And it is something that it's beyond even what you can see or what you can hear. It's perception. Like, you can feel when words are connected to an actual soul that's speaking, and you can also feel it when it's not. That's what I think. That's just what I feel. But I don't think that you'll be replaced at all. Not at all.
Fingers crossed. But yeah, it is quite interesting because, see, in terms of social media, when you're promoting this film and everything and you're promoting your own work, and I'll start with you, Jonathan, is there any particular site that you would prefer to promote The Dummy Detective and everything else on? Or would you say that they're all very much the same in terms of when you're getting feedback and everything?
Well, a challenge for me has always been that I'm not good at marketing. I don't think I'm good at marketing. I don't sort of have a head for it. And, well, I know that I was terrible at it earlier when I was young. I mean, I've learned to be able to market myself, my projects, to some extent just because I had to. So I had to learn to. It's still not my strength at all. I still think I'm not very good at it. So that's always a concern for me and question. I'm trying to figure out where should I be putting my time and effort into which social media platform or what other, or even what to do on them. What kind of videos should I be creating, promo videos for myself in general, and now in particular for this movie? You know, I'm often just not sure. I try different things. I've focused more on YouTube over the years of social media than any other, because that just seemed to lend itself better to the videos that I did and that I wanted to do. So whether it was the best use of my time, I'm not sure, because I've also at times spent more time on Facebook and then Instagram. The last couple of years, I've been switching over more to Instagram. It was something I ignored for, well, up until a couple of years ago, pretty much. And then, there was TikTok also. That was one that I had zero interest in. My initial thought of it when I became aware of it was that that's for really young kids. That's a very young audience and a lot of very silly stuff and stupid stuff. And so I had no interest in TikTok, but people started to advise me, you better go on TikTok too, because so many people are on TikTok now. And you don't want to leave out the young generation also as potential fans. And, so, okay. So I started doing some TikTok videos and it didn't catch on much, but what did catch on, I started doing live streams on TikTok. And for a while that caught on great. It was like kind of amazing. So I got, even though my videos never got a lot of views on TikTok, but when I did live streams, it caught on. People, I guess, were telling other people about it. So I was doing almost every day for a while, for a year or two, and getting many thousands of viewers viewers on each one of these lives. Like at any given moment, I would have 1,000 to 2,000 or 3,000 and even over 100,000 in the course of an hour. That was at the high point. The high point lasted maybe a few months, and I had about 90,000 followers on TikTok as a result of that. Just a result of the lives, because as I said, they weren't watching my videos. That didn't catch on much. But somehow a lot of people loved watching me kibitz with my puppets and interact with them. So that was catching on. But then it all went into the toilet. All of a sudden, I don't know what happened. Something with the algorithms. And actually, I have suspicions. I won't get into a complicated thing. But with what happened on TikTok, that it seemed like TikTok was sabotaging my lives for some reason and was kicking everybody out. It was something was happening. Like I would start my live. After a couple of minutes, I'd have over 1,000 people there. And then all of a sudden, everyone was kicked out except 20 people. And then I'd build it up again. People would rejoin and then get 1,000 people. And then all of a sudden, everyone's kicked out. And it just happened every time I did a live. And eventually, I couldn't even get 1,000 people and just get 100 people. And so I just stopped doing lives for a couple of years. I know I'm rambling on tangents, but I'm just sort of reminiscing after your question about what my experience has been on social media. Maybe just to illustrate to you that I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I've tried to do different things. And even when they worked for a while, they stopped working, at least on TikTok. So who knows? It's an ongoing challenge.
Oh no, you and me both, honestly. Because even when I began the podcast and everything, and again, I think it was a couple of my friends saying, oh yeah, you should use TikTok to promote. And because, as you know, and obviously as of recording this is audio only, so I have to go in and make a lot of video type content to try and promote it and everything. And you're right, it's like the algorithm in each site seems to constantly be rolling over. You'll get some momentum and then all of a sudden it just plummets immediately, which is never good for the old mental health, I have to say. But Deborah, going on to you, is there any social media that you prefer or?
Well, I'm trying to build my TikTok because I sell things on TikTok Shop. I work for a studio in Manhattan and I do other things. So my TikTok is just at Deborah Twiss, but also, and so I'm up to just like about 500 followers. I need to get it up to 2,000 to really start being able to sell a lot in TikTok Shop. And then Instagram, I use Instagram a lot. I just like Instagram because it doesn't have all these weird algorithms that TikTok has. TikTok is ridiculous. It's so convoluted and has all these rules and it's just insane. But anyway, yeah, TikTok and Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I don't use it that much anymore though.
I've got a lot of business friends from a previous career, so I like putting stuff on LinkedIn only because it's a little bit rare to have promotion for a film or something there. I use Facebook. I don't use TikTok or Instagram. And I also have a very big personal mailing list because I do a lot of stage work. So that's more local. And the best way to contact people for something that they may be able to actually go to is just through direct email.
Social media is a bit of an enigma, but it is honestly baffling because I'm just thinking back to my own experience with it. And before I did the podcast, I did a lot of streaming and things like that. And it is weird seeing how, whether it's like with yourselves, whether it's for a film or whether it's for any artistic endeavour, that you see some people doing exactly the same thing and then they're going up, and then other people, it's like they're not reaching the same. And I do think probably that has something to do with the, I don't want to say predatory methodology, asking people to pay to increase their views and things. It's a bit of a pain. But actually, speaking of podcasts, and I swear this is my last point for the night, but when I was researching the film and, the amazing work that you've all done, I was watching a lot of the behind the scenes videos that you all did, where you were just chatting about film and everything and the process and whatnot. And I've got to ask, when is the Dummy Detective podcast coming out?
Oh, well, we don't have any kind of official release date.
Yeah.
It's something we've toyed with, we might continue with. We've done a couple of our own little roundtable kind of discussions, which were a lot of fun. I began posting some excerpts, some clips from that. I have a lot more clips I can take from what we recorded so far. I mean, we all have busy lives too, so I know Ed and Deb both are very busy with all their projects. So also a question of finding time to take on new projects for everybody.
Oh no, absolutely. For anyone who hasn't listened to these behind the scenes videos, honestly, they are just as interesting as the film itself. It is honestly so interesting to hear how you go through the process. You're talking about your experiences together and everything, and it is just a breath of fresh air to see that you're all so passionate about these projects as well, because you do see one or two whenever someone's creating something and they can tell that maybe they're just doing it so that they can advertise and everything, but there is that genuine sense sense of passion that you do feel from your work together. And honestly, yeah, I genuinely think it's fantastic. And I'm not just saying that because the PayPal check just cleared there. For legal reasons, that is a joke indeed. But as we wrap up, out of curiosity, and only if you're allowed to say, what is coming up for the future? Do any of you have anything? And I'll start with you, of course, Jonathan, but is there anything coming up in the pipeline? I know you joked about the Dummy Detective too, but yeah, is there anything coming up for you?
Well, I have several feature film screenplays featuring Trillo and Sway that I've written over the years, over many years, and they're all set to go. I have to find a way to produce one or more of them. I've actually got 3 that are, I consider, ready to go. Of course, nothing's ready to go until you shoot it. I'd still do more tweaking of the scripts, whatever, but they're, pretty much ready to go. But one thing to write a screenplay is another way to get them produced. And after what I've went through, all the trials and tribulations in finding a way to produce this one, I really don't know. I wish I could tell you that I've got another one scheduled for production, but I don't as of now. So the main thing is, I believe, that is just to promote this one, The Dummy Detective, as much as I can, and to hope for the best. And if it does well, then it would open up potential other options or attract investors or a studio to produce it. Because one thing for sure, I cannot self-produce anymore. That's the end of my self-production. I've put a lot of money into my own projects in the hope that it's going to really catch on big. And this is the culmination of the first feature film that I've done after a couple of shorts and a web series, and now this. So this will have to open doors somehow to other ways, other people's money to fund it. And I'd be happy to go further with it. I hope that happens.
No, that's fantastic. I honestly can't wait to see what you produce in the future. Well, sorry, that's the wrong word to say, produce in the future. But yeah, no, I can't wait to see what you do in the future. Yeah, what about you, Deborah? Have you got anything coming up? Or
I have a couple of things. I've got a little TV show thing that I just got cast in. I'm on hold for a couple jobs. There's an Indian film that's coming to New Jersey. They shot everything that they needed in India, but they can't get visas for their main actors right now. So when those visas go through, I think I have about 7 days on that film. And then I'm working on 2 scripts of my own. I'm working on producing a film that I'm also starring in. It's going to be shooting in Atlantic City in September. And then there's actually a script written by an Irish screenwriter, and that is going to be done hopefully in the summer because I need it to be warm and steamy outside. But yeah, a lot of things going on. And my latest film, Crave, is actually available on Tubi, and I just want to encourage people to watch that because it helps me get more movies made. The more people watch our films, the more likely we are to get financing to do more films. So that also brings me to one of Jonathan's scripts. I've encouraged him to rewrite it from a producer's point of view, knowing what kind of budget I'm capable of actually getting from my distributor so that I can produce one of the Trillo and Swade movies with all of us again. I'm planning on it. So, Jonathan.
Yeah. Okay, we need to talk further about it. Yeah.
I was going to say a Satsunami exclusive right there. And yeah, last but certainly not least, Ed, is there anything you're currently working on?
Well, and actually, this case, maybe it is least. No, I'm up for a couple of things, so fingers crossed. And I have another film that's actually going through the festival circuit now, and we're going to be streaming hopefully sometime by late summer or early fall.
As I said, I can't wait to see what the 3 of you do.
Yeah, we may be in touch with you again.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm not just saying that because we're recording. Genuinely, if you're working on anything and you ever want to collaborate or come back on again, it goes for all 3 of you. Definitely feel free to hit me up and let me know.
Nice. Thank you. And also, I love these guys. So to me, everything that I'm going to make from here on out, Ed is in my movie Crave. I will always bring my people, the people that I love, together on my projects. So, I want Jonathan to stop saying he won't be an actor in other people's things. I want him to come and be on my stuff, and I want Ed more. So, I've got plans. I don't ditch out on people once I find them.
Thank God.
Totally know what you mean. Not to the same extent, but it's like whenever I'm working on something for the podcast and I'm like, oh, I wonder what my friend's doing. Well, they're going to be doing the podcast now, so I just drag them on. Say, have you got a free night? Well, you're doing this now.
Yeah.
It is honestly fantastic though, isn't it? See, when you get that creative niche that you get to do and then you get to include your friends and everything into it, it's honestly the best feeling, isn't it?
Yeah.
On that note, I just want to give a huge thanks to, of course, yourself, Jonathan, Deborah and Ed for coming on Satsunami tonight and and just chatting about all things filmmaking, really, and of course, The Dummy Detective. So thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure and our pleasure. Really fun discussion. And let me just mention to all your listeners, the dummydetectivemovie.com. That's the place to go for all the links to all the channels currently, which we keep updating, of where you can watch The Dummy Detective. So the dummydetectivemovie.com. Also, by the way, right there, you have all the links to our social media as well.
Definitely check out the show notes after this. Well, I suppose you can scroll down and find them right now as you're listening to this, but yeah, the links and everything will be in the show notes. And yeah, thedummydetective.com, definitely go check it out. Go check out this film and support it because it's honestly fantastic. And yeah, I couldn't recommend it enough. On that note, thank you all so much for listening to this episode of Satsunami. And if you would like to listen to more episodes from ourselves, then please check us out on our website, chatsunami.com, as well as all good podcast apps. I also want to thank our amazing Pandalorian patrons, Robotic Battle Toaster, Ghostie and Cryptic 1991. Thank you all so much for supporting the show. And if you head over to patreon.com/chatsunami, then you can get early access to episodes, you can get bonus commentary, and then you can get a sneak peek at The Dummy Detective 2. For legal reasons, that last one is a joke, but that is patreon.com/chatsunami. As always, though, thank you all so much for listening. Stay safe, stay awesome, and most importantly, stay hydrated.